to have Mr. Clausen from the State Senate come up and give us a little update of what's going on at the State Senate today.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for the invitation to be here this morning. A little bit about my background. This is my third term that I'm serving in. I was elected in 2012. My background is in education. I was a high school principal at Rosemont for 15 years, assistant principal at Apple Valley, and then my last 5 years I spent time at our district office in Rosemont, Apple Valley, Egan Public Schools. When I was invited to speak today, I asked, you know, is there a topic you'd like me to talk about? And they said, no, never. So I said, well, I'm going to talk about something that I want to talk about. And so today I'm kind of a data person, and we just got through with the 2020 census, and that has implications for reapportionment or redistricting in our state of Minnesota. So I thought I'd share some information about that. And you do have a handout on your tables. I thought a handout might be more appropriate because there's a lot of data, a lot of numbers that I'm going to be talking about, and information, and having something to walk away with might be something that you find useful. And I think also in looking at some of the presentations of the mayors that are here today, I think that what I share with you might really fold very well into their presentations. So starting out, this is Census 101. Why do we do the census? And I have to say that our founding fathers really had a perception for the future and laid out in the Constitution what the census really needed to do in Article 1, Section 2. Right away they said that, well, government should be fairly proportioned to the people you represent. And so that's one reason, and that's the reapportioned redistricting that we're going to be going through. The second reason is that, as we all know, the federal government collects a lot of taxes, and they redistribute much of that money back to the states. And how are we going to send that money back to the states? Well, we're going to do it based upon population. And so that's really the second big reason. Well, there's over 100 programs that really rely upon census data for sending money back to the state. And I've listed some of those in that handout, but Medicare, Head Start, SNAP, which is the food stamps program, medical assistance, school lunch program, Section 8 housing, those are some sampled. And for 3 years, I was a co-chair of the Healthcare Workforce Commission. One of the things that I found out, and it's kind of like as you're a senator or in the legislature, you find out new things every day. But even the residency slots that we receive from the federal government, we receive money so that we can train doctors and they do residencies in our hospitals, is based upon your population. So it's pretty important that we do a census every 10 years. So let's look a little bit about state, county, and city census data. Well, Minnesota grew by 7.6% over the decade. We have now a population of 5.7 million people, and our growth was above the national average, which was 7.1%. 76% of Minnesotans are white. That's a 7% decrease from 2010 when the last census was taken. So we've seen growth with Black, Hispanic, and Asian Minnesotans making up a bigger share of our population, and that's certainly something that I think all of you have seen over the last 10 years as well. There is a chart in that handout that kind of shows that growth, the racial growth in Dakota County. You can just kind of look at that. Dakota County was the third fastest growing county, increasing by 9.4% over the decade. Many of you in real estate, you've seen that growth the last 10 years. We now have a population in Dakota County of just under 440,000. Hennepin County had a 32.1% increase over the decade, followed by Ramsey at 10.9. Dakota County was third, as I mentioned, at 10.3. At the city level, Lakeville, with a 24.2% population growth, was the highest percentage increase in the metro area. Others that many of you are familiar with. Rosemont experienced a 21% growth rate, while Apple Valley grew by just under 15%. 36 of our 87 counties lost population, while 16 counties grew faster than the state average of 7.1% over the decade. The 7-county metro area increased and accounted for 78% of the state growth. So generally what we're seeing, growth in the metro areas and a loss of population in our rural areas, as you'll see. Interesting enough, Carver County, with a 14.9% growth rate, they were the fastest growing county in the state. Although their numbers, again, were certainly weren't the numbers that you saw in Hennepin County, but they had over 15,000, almost 16,000 resident growth. A little bit about our Minnesota Senate redistricting. The process is that we look at that census data, and the Republicans and the Democrats, they each sit down, they hold hearings, and that is occurring across the state right now, to draw maps to show what the Senate districts would look like. Unfortunately, over many decades, when it comes time to share those, they can never agree, so then it goes to a panel of judges. I'm sure that's what's going to happen. In fact, that panel has already been selected. At the end of November is the due date where the Democrats and Republicans have to present their data, their maps, and I'm sure there will not be an agreement. February 15th is the drop dead deadline. Those maps have to be agreed upon, and they have to be out for publication so that people can begin the process of campaigning and know the communities that they'll be representing. Well, there are 67 legislators or Senate districts in Minnesota. The Minnesota Constitution follows the U.S. Constitution as far as the importance of equal representation. We want to make sure that each of those Senate districts is somewhat equal, within 1 to 3% of each other. Beginning in 2010, each Senate district was to have 78,325 people. That's currently what we're operating under. But due to the increase in population in 2020, that new number, ideal number, is going to be 85,172. So we're going to have to look at increasing the number of people that we represent. DFL held Senate districts are overpopulated by 57,823 people, while the GOP held districts currently are just under populated by 43,000 people. And that's probably my phone, I bet. Sorry for interrupting you. I interrupt myself. Generally, DFL held districts then will need to get smaller. Geographically, they're going to have to get smaller because they're overpopulated. Whereas we'll see that the Republican held districts will have to increase in geographic size. Of the 67 Senate districts, 36 will need to add population, while 31 need to reduce population to reach the magic number of 85,172. Now, I hope you all would agree that I really deserve a raise because I'm representing almost 10,000 more people than were intended. And I can tell you that based upon the number of emails, phone calls, and inquiries I get for meetings and so on, I feel those 10,000 people. I represent Apple Valley, Rosemont, Northeast Lakeville, Coates, and a dozen uninhabited islands in the Mississippi River. It's on the map, actually. And my district ranks third of the Senate districts with a total population over our current number of, again, 78,325. The first district that is overpopulated is Senator Bobby Joe Champion, Broadway, Plymouth area, northwest Minneapolis. His Senate district has about 150 more people than I do, so he's over. And then the one that's next in second place is Senator Carrie Dietzick. She has the area around the University of Minnesota, and she has one more person than myself. So we're very close as far as the three districts that are overpopulated. And there is a chart that you can see. I tried to look at the Senate districts in Dakota County, and we do have 6. Senate District 51 is Eagan, Burnsville. And you can see that they are under by 442 people. Senate District 52 is Inver Grove Heights, South St. Paul, West St. Paul. They are also under by over 2,000. Senate District 54 is Hastings, Cottage Grove, kind of a unique district because they cross the Mississippi River and go into South Washington County. So they have a couple different counties and different municipalities they serve. Senate 56 is Burnsville Savage. Senate 57 is mine, again, Apple Valley, Northeast Lakeville, Coates, Rosemont. You can see the number there. And then Senator Duckworth in Senate District 58, which is Lakeville, Farmington, and then several townships. You can see that he also is over in population. So let's look real quick at congressional redistricting. The good news is that we didn't lose any congressional districts. Minnesota kept all of our 8 U.S. House seats. Minnesota growth rate was 19th amongst states, 5.7 million residents, compared to 5.3 million in 2010. Minnesota received the last of the 435 allocated House congressional seats, beating out New York by 89 residents. If we would have had 90 fewer residents, we would have lost a congressional seat, so it was very close. This is in 2010. It was between Missouri and Minnesota. It was very close again. The ideal congressional district currently is 713,312 residents. I'm sorry, that would be for 2020. The ideal right now is 662,991. So again, the congressional districts are going to have to change as well. And there is a chart that is in the handout. And as you review the chart, congressional districts 1, 7, and 8. 1 is on the southern quarter of the state of Minnesota from east to west. 7 is in the northwest. 8 is in the northeast. They are going to have to they're going to have to gain population. You can see those are pretty big numbers. If you look at Congressional District 1, represented by Representative Hagedorn, he needs to gain over 22,000 residents. And if you look at Congressional District 7 in the northwest, has to increase by 39,000 plus. And Congressional District 8, over 37,000. So those congressional districts are going to get larger. If you look at congressional districts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, they must shrink because they're overpopulated. So I hope you can kind of see that this is not an easy task. People have to sit down and work through this and just find out where those congressional lines and where our state Senate districts are going to be drawn. And again, the deadline for that is February 15th. I thought also you would be interested if you kind of turn the page in talking about Dakota County and our state attainment goal. In 2014, Senator Bonif and I co-authored the state attainment goal. And basically, it's a workforce goal because we know with the changing needs of our workforce, we need an educated population. And so what we did was we created a goal that by 2025, our workers between the age of 25 and 44, 70% would have some type of a higher education certificate. Now that could be a master's degree, it could be a doctor's degree, 4-year degree, 2-year degree. It could be a license, a certificate. But we wanted to grow the workforce. We're at 63% currently. And we need to get to 70 by 2025. 63% is not bad because it's the second in the nation. Number one is Massachusetts. They are 2 percentage points above us. If you look at a lot of data, you'll see that Massachusetts and Minnesota are very close in many ways. But we are number 2, and we need to get up to 70% if we want to make sure we have the workforce, trained workforce, that's ready. We're Dakota County, then what we did was we developed one of these for every county, a profile. So every county got one of these, and then we sent people out to meet with chambers of commerce and different groups saying, hey, this is a profile of your county, we've got this attainment goal, we need to increase, and then how do we go about doing that? And so we're working on that. We're actually 10th. We're 10th in the state as far as having a trained workforce towards reaching that goal. And again, I'll give you some of the figures for some of the other counties, so just so you have a reference. Carver County is number 1. Carver County comes up, I'm surprised there's not a mad dash out to the door to get your offices in Carver County, because it seems like that's a growing area, and it's well educated. Hennepin County is 3, ranked 3, Washington 5, Olmsted County, Rochester is 4. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. It then goes into a little bit too about a profile of some students. One of the real concerns in Minnesota is that we are one of 13 states that has a net out-migration of 18 to 24-year-olds. A lot of talk is about all these people retiring from Minnesota and moving to warmer climates. Those numbers are not as great as the number of people between 18 and 24 we annually lose. We have a net loss of between 6,000 and 7,000 students every year that leave the state for education purposes, but we don't get 6,000 to 7,000 coming from other states. So we have a net loss. And again, we're one of 13 states. And so that's another issue that we're working on. We do see in the early 30s a blip in the population where we think some of those people are coming back to Minnesota. Usually it's somebody marries a woman from Minnesota and they move back here, is what I've found in just talking with people. But that's a real concern that we have. And being a high school principal, I would track our 10 top graduates every year. And I would find 5 to 6 would leave the state. And again, we're trying to track right now, do they ever come back to us? These tend to be some of the brightest students. They also tend to have economic ability that they can leave the state. A lot of them come from suburban areas, higher income areas, higher income families that can afford to send their children out of state. So, I'm going over. So with that, the last page, I thought I'd get the house in First Minnesota magazine, and I found kind of an interesting set of statistics there, so I'll leave you with that. And again, thanks so much for your time today.
And first up, this year, instead of going last, we've asked Mr. McGuire to go first.
Well, I want to first off start by welcoming you to Eagan, and I appreciate locating here today. It forces my fellow mayors to drive up Pilot now to see our city. But what I really appreciate is the opportunity to come as a mayor and brag a little bit on my city. As mayors, we really only get 2 opportunities to do that a year. One is our State of the City, and the other one is this event where we have a captive audience. So I thank you, and I apologize ahead of time for all of us mayors. With that, I'm going to try to stay within the 10 minutes allotted. Is that right, Senator Clausen? But I look for this opportunity. But I'm going to start with just some demographics that we've gotten from the census that just came out here last year, and then lead into kind of some of the planning principles and organization of some of my material around those. I do want to just take a minute and thank Jill Hootmacher and Mike Schultz, our economic development team and our planning team from the city of Eagan. They put this material together and are on call to correct me when I've made woeful mistakes. With that, in terms of demographic trends, Egan's population has risen in the last 10 years. We've, as a community, grown in numbers, and we've grown increasingly diverse as well. Growth, roughly in the last 10 years, about 7%. Our population is now lower than the city of Lakeville, and our household population is slightly smaller than the city of Lakeville's. That statistic, 2.48, down from 2.54, might look statistically insignificant. I assure you it's not. It really is a reflection of the kind of development that we're doing here in the city of Egan, which is primarily on the residential side, invested in multifamily and rental, whereas Lakeville has a growing population, a larger household, and that probably reflects the fact that they have more space to develop in single-family homes and larger households. So I'll let Mayor Anderson respond to that if he wants to. I don't think I've slighted you guys at all, though. We also have grown more diverse, and this is pretty significant in the city of Egan. Our population of biracial and people of color has really gone up about 10% over the 2010 census. It really translates to about a 50% increase in our people of color. What's in particular important is the share of BIPOC population in our 18 and under, because that's an indication of the trends that are to come if Egan, and it traditionally has been, is successful at retaining population, i.e. kids who come through Egan and eventually migrate back to Egan after they go through education and such. So it really is a harbinger to what Egan is going to become in the future, and I think all the suburbs that you'll talk to today will probably have a very similar story. In terms of housing, I mentioned it earlier, and it's no different trend than the past. Most of our new housing is multifamily, as opposed to single-family residential. That really is a reflection of how built out we are. I've been at this job for almost 15 years now, and I've been told that Egan is built out for all 15 of those years. Clearly that's not true. We still have opportunities for redevelopment, and those will continue in the future as well. But the blue lines are the multifamily, and the yellow lines that you can just barely see, those are the single-family additions we've had in the last year. Employment in Egan has usually been fairly high. We, like everybody, suffered a hit from the pandemic. We are down 9% at the end of the fourth quarter in 2020. That's understandable. At the end of the fourth quarter in 2020, we were in a second series of shutdowns, so a lot of people were on unemployment. We do expect these numbers to come back. The unemployment numbers kind of lag behind from deed, but where that number is going to settle in, we're uncertain. I don't know if we'll get back to pre-pandemic levels of unemployment, of employment. We know that people have, through the pandemic, left the workforce, and so where that will settle out is a little bit uncertain. Growth and development. Egan in 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, had its fourth highest valuation year in its history. What was unique about that is that if you look at the other three high points, in 2013 was the Outlet Mall, fairly large project. 2017 was the Vikings headquarter, another fairly large project. 2019 was the Omni Hotel, a third large project. 2020, we really didn't have permits for large projects. That really is a reflection of people in 2020 staying at home and reinvesting in their own properties. Lots of permits for home improvements, for additions, for reinvestment, and really, quite frankly, taking up some of maybe the delayed maintenance that had gone into the properties before. And in 2021, while the graph before suggested that maybe our evaluation and permits were not as high as previously, in 2021 our zoning permits are 90% higher than in 2020. From a planning and where we want to go as a community and the lifestyle we want to try to create for citizens, we really have kind of 5 guiding principles behind our comprehensive plan. One is to increase connectivity between people in our community. Second one is healthy and active living, sustainability and resilience. placemaking, and that's particularly important in terms of our increasingly diverse population, and of course reinvestment and flexibility in our development. As I mentioned earlier, we hover around the notion of being built out. That never means that you're done, because you always have the opportunity to redevelop and find new land, so to speak. So, in terms of connectivity, we concluded the year-long process of our bike and pedestrian master plan. And increasingly what we're trying to do is make sure that we are having trails connect to other trails so that people can get across the community in other ways than using highways and roads. And we have a very active bike and ped community in Eagan. Some of you may know from seeing the news recently. But 500 community members gave us input into this bike and ped plan, and we're really pleased about that and look forward to that kind of connection coming. Second priority is active and healthy living. And a couple of things that we do in terms of that. We've recently opened the Woodhaven Park. That is part of an increasingly diverse set of park systems that we had. We just got an update the other night from the Parks Director, and I'm really kind of amazed at how diverse our park system has become. The Woodhaven Park is an inclusive playground that is intentionally meant to be multi-sensory and to serve people of different abilities than we traditionally plan for. It's one example of the ways in which our parks are increasingly focusing in and reaching out to particular communities in their uses. The second one is our reach out to the senior population, or my cohort, perhaps. Increasingly, pickleball is really being demanded of these cities. In some neighborhoods, being a little bit opposed because of the noise of pickleball. But we've really added a couple of pickleball opportunities, and our senior citizens really are appreciative of that. These courts are extremely active, and they're located near some senior housing. And what we find is that they not only become a place for pickleball, but they become a place for gathering. And these pickleball courts actually host a community happy hour almost every Friday when the weather is good. Sustainability and resilience. Eagan is proud to continue to be a level 5 Green Steps city. What did I do? There we go. And really that's because of our commitment to increasingly undertake measures that increase our sustainability. At level 5, really, you're to the place where the low-hanging fruit is gone. So Eagan is really getting very serious about looking at our climate or carbon footprint plan and trying to reduce our carbon footprint and identify areas in which we can do that as a city and beyond that in our community. One of the reflections of that is the council is currently going through the process of considering a franchise fee on energy bills to fund some of our sustainability efforts to increase that reduction in carbon footprint. So we're looking forward to that. Also in terms of resilience, I think, I gave a State of the City probably 3 or 4 months ago, I guess, where we really focused on the resilience of our city. And I think our city did, like all of these cities did, a fabulous job of responding to COVID-19 in a number of different ways. Why does this keep on going out on me?
No, I'll check the cables.
Okay. In particular, our Parks Department really adapted to the essentialness of parks during COVID. We found an incredible uptick in use of our parks, and our parks programming people shifted from group programming to virtual programming that people could undertake at home with virtual online programs, as well as creative kits to keep the kids who are at home busy and entertained and engaged beyond their schooling. Additionally, we had responses in the business sector. We partnered with Dakota County in providing really easy to get relief loans. They were small relief loans. They were grants. They were maybe smaller grants than would have come out of the federal government, but there was a whole lot less paperwork associated with them. So we're really pleased that in partnership with Dakota County, we can help these businesses get through the pandemic. Talked earlier about placemaking, and there are really 2 things that I wanted to highlight here. Back to the art block slide that I had earlier. I won't go there, but arts in Eagan has really emerged as quality of life help in our community. So one of the things that we've done is basically on the block between Westcott and Diffley, or maybe even Cliff, we have an art block event which is going on right now. And there's a number of different events associated with Art Block, but all of them is to bring the community together around arts and to celebrate the arts in our community. And that really has been a significant effort over the last 10 years, and we've seen some great success with it. Additionally, we've installed public arts around the city. And if I can, I just want to take a second here and share a brief story. A number of years ago, I was with the Humphrey Fellows Program, and I went out to Washington, D.C., and we visited at the Lincoln Arts Center with the board of the Lincoln Performing Arts Center. He happened to be in Minnesota, and I believe his name was Bill Johnson. One of the anecdotes he told us was that in Washington, D.C., only about 3% of Washingtonians actually ever visit the Lincoln Arts Center. But when they're surveyed and they're asked where they take out-of-town guests when they come into Washington, about 80 to 90% of people cited the Lincoln Performing Arts Center. What that tells you is that even if people don't actually engage in the arts, it's important for them to have the arts in their community. It makes them feel like their community is more whole. I think it's a really important anecdote, and it's one of the things that I think really is going on positively in terms of quality of life here in Eagan and what makes it such a desirable community. We've also made an investment increasingly in pocket parks. This is one example of a pocket park that we've installed near City Hall. I think our Parks Department is authorized to look to install about 2 pocket parks a year where there are opportunities to do that. And again, this is part of creating places in spaces where people can gather, and it's again a non-traditional approach to parks from what we've done over past decades. So it's very exciting. Vikings Lakes, this is designated as a Vikings Lakes design guidelines. I guess what I'll just say is the point of this slide is the Viking Lakes development is emerging. When we initially approved that around the Vikings headquarters to start, the idea was that that's about a 10 to 15 year horizon on full development. And we've kind of tried to develop that as a connected and integrated kind of community in our northeast corner of the city. In terms of residential development, as I suggested earlier, focused primarily on multifamily units. Here are 3 of our market rate units that are going in. The gallery is, you might have seen it on Pilot Knob, just across from the Eagan Commons. That is actually currently in construction. The Rowan is the final multifamily development in Cedar Grove, and that completes it. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, Vikings Lakes Phase 1 has 261 units of rental that's currently under construction. We also have reinvestment in existing multifamily. Both Ballantrae and Glen Ponds have been parts of our community for a number of years, and in the recent past, they've expanded their footprint and added some units. And then, of course, Lexington Point Senior Center as well. About 80% or so of the multifamily that we're introducing to the community is market rate. About 20% is affordable, and we're happy with that rate. It doesn't keep up with the numbers in terms of need, but I think it's a fairly healthy ratio, and we're always looking to improve it, but we're kind of proud about what we've been able to do. Lexington Flats just opened up about 2 weeks ago on the corner of Pilot Knob and Lexington. That's about 60% affordable. Astor House Apartments is down off Dibley. That's a 204 unit affordable and subsidized development, private sector. Finance on tax increment credits. And Nichols Point is hopeful in the future to be built. We've approved it in the city of Eagan, but the hope is there for a multi-service, veterans preferred, really focused on homeless vets or vets who are struggling, and they would have priority in that once we actually get it built. We're trying to work with the state and Dakota County to get the funding to realize that. Home improvement areas, I talk about affordability. One of the things that I think is really important is preserving affordability in multifamily for sure, but in particular, preserving affordability in single family and ownership housing. That really is a particular issue. I know Mayor Anderson is quite aware of this, as we all are. You know, local governments right now are really in kind of a legislative fight over how to provide affordable ownership opportunities for folks. The house builders have a different opinion than we do on how you do that, but look for more conversation about that in the future, because I think it's a very important area. If we can't build more affordable ownership opportunities, it's critically important that we preserve those affordable home ownership opportunities. Residential development in the market area, again, in ownership. Red Pine has been under consideration for a number of uses for almost as long as I've been involved with the city. We finally approved last year some twin homes down there, and those will be ownership homes as well. Residential infill. I think you look at the numbers earlier, probably somewhere in the 1,500 unit area. We are very, very proud of our 27 new single-family homes. But that tells you why it's such a small number there, and you can kind of demonstrate that dramatically. Really quickly to try to wrap up here, reinvestment. We still continue to see the Cedar Grove fill out. We've got, even in the pandemic, Fairfield Inn and Suites came in with 120 rooms down in Cedar Grove, and the Solo Salon really took a kind of outlot near the Affinity development, and all of that development, the Fairfield Suites, the Solo, and the apartments really kind of round out and complete our work in the Cedar Grove, so we're very pleased with that. As I mentioned, the Omni Vikings Hotel, or Vikings Lakes Hotel, that actually opened up in the course of the pandemic. I believe it was November or October of last year. Unfortunate times for them, but the fact of the matter, we just held the grand opening a couple of months ago here. One of the things that I'm really proud about this is the confidence that Omni and all of their partners showed in staying in the project. You know, it was a hard time for the hotel industry. They stayed in the project. When we opened up and had their grand opening, their delayed grand opening, they had literally just shown a small profit for the first time since they had opened. So it's really encouraging news. If you haven't had a chance to get out there and have a dinner or something like that, I really would encourage you to. It's just a beautiful facility. A couple of things that we do really well here in Eagan. We're building a lot of supermarkets, and we're doing a lot of reworking of our grocery here. Hy-Vee has adapted to the pandemic by wanting to put in a specific drive-through for grocery pickup if you order online, so we approved that. Hy-Vee is also making an investment in reinvesting in the Hilltop area, and they're converting a gas station to a new fresh Hy-Vee model. It's still a convenience store, and the strip mall there that you might have driven by is still going to remain, but I think they're going to try to freshen it up a little bit, and that's an important part of reinvestment in that area in particular. We also have an unnamed supermarket going in on the Associated Bank property at at Yankee Doodle and Pilot Knob. It's an interesting project. They had to actually build the new, smaller branch of the Associated Bank on site before they raised the old building so they could build the supermarket because of banking laws and possession of materials associated with safe deposit boxes and things like that. The unnamed grocer, I can't name it. I will tell you, it is a national retailer who sells a lot more than groceries, and they're very invested in delivery. We also are finally, I have not gotten enough credit for this because I've gotten a fair number of blame for it. We are finally getting a Trader Joe's in Eagan. I have been criticized for years for not getting it, and when we do finally get it, no one calls, no one writes, no one says thank you. But that's going in on the old site of the Imagine Theater. That's a really interesting project as well. Imagine Theater reduced its footprint and reinvested in the Imagine Theater and made it possible then to redevelop the Overpark site with their theater. So the Trader Joe's is going in there, and the council will be hearing a proposal to put some multifamily residential on another part of that lot in the next couple of months, I believe it is. Neighborhood retail, Northeast Eagan. The point of this slide is just the center one there is actually in Vikings Lakes and part of the Vikings Lake redevelopment. The other two are examples of the kind of economic development that is generated from that development but is off-site to it. So those two sites were redeveloped into neighborhood business because Vikings Lakes is there and they saw an opportunity to expand on that. So I think that's a show of how healthy the Vikings Lakes is helping to make all of Northeast Egan, and we're very excited about that as well. The Foundation Hill in Montessori, that's the final piece of what you might know as the old Perrin property, which stayed really as a cornfield for almost 20 years before we finally got the opportunity to redevelop it. This is the final piece of that. It's right next to Aldi's, and it's going into a space where the council was asked if we would put storage, if we would put self-storage in that space. We said no, it was too critical an area to our economy to put self-storage in, so we're really glad that we get this instead of self-storage, which we prefer to keep in our commercial and industrial areas as opposed to our retail and neighborhood business areas. Industrial redevelopment, you know, the biggest point here, Lexington Logistics Center is right off of Lexington, obviously. Amazon's going in there. That property was actually built on spec. They might have built it with the hope of landing Amazon, but they built it on spec not knowing if they were going to get Amazon, and then eventually when they did get Amazon, they had to come back to the council and make a few adjustments to the site, including buying out and paying off one business so they could actually create more surface storage for the Amazon fleet that's going to go into that site. But we're excited about that. Amazon is very well represented in the city of Egan. I think they have 3 different locations that all interact in ways I have no understanding of. I mentioned self-storage, a couple of self-storage areas that we put in. Again, these have been in our commercial and industrial areas and light industrial, and they're kind of around the edges of the city of Egan. Yankee Doodle the Yankee Doodle self-storage, I think, is just about a minute, if that, before you get into Inver Grove. So, a few other major investments and companies. Pet Suite is about to open up. I don't know why that's significant, but every time I talk to somebody, they're like, I can't wait for Pet Suite to open up. So that's a redevelopment of a business at the corner of Lexington and Lone Oak as well. But just some of the businesses that are making investments and reinvestments in the city of Egan. So with that, I hope I haven't gone too far over my time, but I appreciate your listening. And again, I apologize for the rest of the afternoon.
Josh Hoyt from Farmington.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Joshua Hoyt, City of Farmington's mayor. I'll kind of work through everyone getting their lunch, so, you know, or your meal snacks, just work your way back to your tables when you can. A little bit about the City of Farmington here, first and foremost, the location of our city. We are conveniently located between most thoroughways, being 35W, County Road 52, Highway 3, County Road 50. The City of Farmington is centrally located by about 7.5 to 8 miles. The City of Farmington was incorporated in 1872, so next year, 2022, we will celebrate our 150th anniversary. As the second oldest city in Dakota County, we find that to be very important and something that we should spend our time celebrating next year. Those of you, this is going to kind of be a little bit of our interactive portion of this. Everyone has their smartphones. Why don't you take them out real quick and turn your cameras on for me if you don't mind. But in the trade-off, I won't stand up here for 25 minutes either. So there's your a little shot there times 2. Go ahead and take your cameras. I want you to take a picture of our QR code here and go ahead and follow the link. It's going to take you to our current developments. It is mobile friendly. It's going to walk you through all of our existing developments, and I'm going to share another one with you here shortly. For those of you that don't have a smartphone, don't worry about it. You're going to have access to it via the city's website. This map's going to show you the location of all of our approved developments that are happening within the city. So over the last 10 years, the City of Farmington has had a little bit over 800 new homes according to Census data. If you go back to the beginning part of 19 to today, just through preliminary plat process, we have approved over 800 new homes. So Farmington is in a period of significant growth, not only residential, but we're starting to go through a major transition within our landowners. You know, as of 2019, Farmington had 48% of our total square footage, or I apologize, our square mileage, which was 15, our gross acreage, 48% of that as of 2019 was agricultural. Now, you break that down, we've got approximately 10 to 12 landowners or families that control all of that property. we recognized that in order for Farmington to grow, we had to do a better job of engaging our property owners and our landowners. We've started those conversations to figure out how their legacy within their family ties into the 2040 comp plan, our financial plan, our capital improvements plan. As you go through and you look at our current developments, you'll see that the development has reached every corner of our city. We're seeing development near your high school, a couple hundred homes there. We're starting to push our development to the south side of downtown. We've got 3 new prospective developments that have gotten through preliminary plat, upwards of 480 homes. And also, most notably, our Vida Tiva development, which just started breaking ground approximately 2.5 to 3 weeks ago. They're working through utilities. That's a 55 and over aging community development. That's slab on grade, I believe it's 188 homes that are going to go in. But that's adjacent to our downtown, which is imperative for driving additional rooftops. They're going to help pull more of that manufacturing, commercial, industrial that Farmington has needed for so long. When you move into the next slide here, you look at our current undeveloped land as of our 2040 comp plan. You'll notice how much agriculture is on the west side of our community. The Farmington Industrial Park, you get into the early part of 1980s, mid-1980s, the Farmington Industrial Park was the beginning of our commercial industrial mixed use for Farmington. You'll start to see in the next few years our landowners transition over into that segue on the west property line shared with the city of Lakeville. That's a corridor and area of development that the city of Farmington looks forward to, because we have families and landowners that are starting to get more and more aggressive into turning their property into opportunities. And it's important that you're aware of that. As we move into our next slide here, you've got a secondary QR code that I want you to pull, and this is our available properties. We have a few properties downtown existing. They're available for lease and or rent. We've got a couple of zoned commercial, industrial manufacturing properties as you work out towards the west side of the community. Again, a little bit of a different note from what you're going to hear from some of our county partners here. Farmington is a growing community. We're a community of opportunity. We have land. Land ultimately is what is going to help drive our development. Some of our neighboring communities have done an incredible job over the last 5 to 10 years of taking advantage of those opportunities. Farmington is on the cusp of that opportunity right now. We have land, we have willing and ready landowners and property owners. We have property that is prime for new business and development, and we're finding interactive ways to continue to draw interest into the city of Farmington. Sam, are you still here? There you are. Samantha DiMaggio is our new community development director. Please take out your phones, take another picture. Sam is someone you need to know. If you don't know of Sam, get to know her very quickly. Yeah, that same problem there. So please take hold of her contact information there. Again, not really a whole lot to tell about the city of Farmington outside of our opportunity. I could stand up here and try and show you a whole bunch of fancy slides about things that we've done, and the truth is that we've got some great accomplishments, but they're not grand scale. Right now, Farmington is going through that transitional phase. The last 15 years, our community has grown from a little over 10,000 people to 23,000 according to the 2020 census. Our gross acreage has started to transition from agricultural into mixed-use commercial industrial. The city council, we have made a concentrated effort towards getting sufficient funding in our infrastructures and our build-outs, things that has not always been taken care of in years past. And we just look forward to continuing to build relationships with those that are willing to invest in our community. Our job is to get out of your way. We're here to be an asset and an ally in whatever way you want to bring your businesses and opportunities to Farmington, so we appreciate it. And I have officially caught up on time. Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Elizabeth from Burnsville.
As the song says, you belong here. Burnsville has positioned itself as a vibrant city, boldly leading and welcoming to all. The city started 2021 in a strong position. We are on strong financial footing, we are strong in our commitment to being business friendly, and we are strong because of our focus on community and economic development. 2020 was a challenging year, but the city stepped up to serve our businesses through CARES funding programs that dedicated $2 million to local businesses. This is the highest percentage of CARES funding that any regional city set aside for its businesses. With the Burnsville CARES funding, we were able to provide grants to over 116 local businesses, nonprofits, and the hospital.
It was a very wonderful and timely opportunity for us, and we appreciate it so much. And again, we've been here 15 years now, and we just feel like we support the city, but the city turns around and supports us, and it makes us feel like family.
There were other bright spots for our local business community too. Burnsville welcomed 22 new businesses. City staff attended opening ceremonies, visited longtime businesses, and helped our local businesses in many ways beyond funding. We also continue to focus on providing a diverse housing market for our residents. We are lucky to have a great mix of urban townhomes, modern apartments, senior living, and traditional suburban homes set among over 75 parks and trails. In fact, we have more than 500 new housing units in the permitting phase right now. Taxable market values have increased across all sectors, but especially with new multifamily developments. Over the past year and into 2022, Burnsville will see over 9 new multifamily projects in our city. Once the new multifamily developments come online, the new tax value is estimated to be at $80.4 million by 2022. And with additional housing units planned for the future, that increase is estimated to be $291+ million in tax value by 2025. And we continue to be committed to the success of the redevelopment of the Burnsville Center. The Burnsville Center CBL portion was recently purchased by the New York-based Cohan Retail Investment Group. The Burnsville Center continues to be open to shop and dine in over 70 retail and eatery businesses. Remember, the Burnsville Center has 4 owners: Macy's, JCPenney, Seritage, and the Cohan Retail Investment Group. We are working collaboratively to move towards the Center Village concept with mixed uses of housing, hotels, and entertainment. We have prioritized this area for a tax increment financing, or TIF district, and have successfully obtained legislative approval. Our community development team works to provide tools for businesses, developers, and investors to make it easy to locate and flourish in Burnsville. The city has so many opportunities, and that's why we say, you belong here.
We're very excited about the redevelopment possibilities around the Burnsville Center. It has the ability to be a major growth area in the city. Construction of the Orange Line in the heart of the city has us all very excited for that area as well. The Orange Line, which is scheduled to open in December of 2021, will be a connection between Burnsville and the greater metro area. The new line through Metro Transit is a 17-mile bus rapid transit line that will connect Burnsville to Minneapolis, Richfield, and Bloomington.
The Orange Line, I think, is a great resource for the businesses that are in need of employees. And the employers in the Southcross Industrial Park, for instance, have a great need for additional employees, whether it's a large business or a small business. EFH provides general construction services, design build, construction management, and we've built over, I think last count is around 60 buildings in Burnsville. We do our best to build a quality building, and we feel that with a quality building brings quality tenants. We've worked really well with staff at all levels. They are easy to get a hold of. They're willing to take a look at other opportunities or how to get that particular project off the ground, and whether it's keeping an existing client in Burnsville or bringing a new client to Burnsville. Developers should get here quick. There are many redevelopment opportunities with the city and their vision for the Burnsville Center and other areas in the city. Those redevelopment opportunities will move quick.
There continues to be exciting opportunities in Burnsville, and our staff is here to help you. We have organized our development staff to assist you no matter where you are at in the process of development or redevelopment. We have taken actions such as reducing the number of steps to get approvals, increasing administrative approvals, and providing flexibility in many of our ordinances. We have access to a number of financial programs and strategies to help with business expansion or new locations. Our staff is at the ready to help you with grant funding for key projects. Most recently, we helped secure over $1 million in grants from DEED and the Met Council for the development of the Capstone 35 project. The Capstone 35 includes two 116,000 square foot industrial buildings located in the Minnesota River Quadrant. Development of the site has some major costs associated with the site cleanup, utility relocation, and environmental remediation.
One of the key things that caused me to look at this site, when somebody brought it to my attention, I realized that its access is superb because it's right on I-35W and 13. So it has two full four-way interchanges combined with the geographic proximity to the urban core of Minneapolis and St. Paul. And so the location where Burnsville is physically located, to us, in our estimation, was a great fit. So then I began to try to acquire the land, but it had a lot of problems. We didn't know those problems initially. And that's one of the key things that we had to overcome, is figuring out what the full scope of those problems were and whether they were solvable, and if they were solvable, come up with a game plan for how we would do that. Even after we started finding out about these substantial problems for this site, my interaction with the staff, it's just been so positive. It was so refreshing that we were treated like, hey, these people are trying to invest money in our community. We're going to try our best to come up with a solution that we can both live with. And that is the best thing any developer could ever ask for. It's welcoming. It's willing to try to find a solution that works for both of us. And it works in a community where you've got the kind of leadership that Burnsville does, where everybody seems to be in the boat rowing in the same direction. This is a well-run community, and that gives me a good feeling about Burnsville's future and why I'm glad to be investing in the community.
It is also important for the city to provide real-time data to brokers, developers, and potential businesses looking to build or expand in Burnsville. The city has developed an interactive development webpage, so information is at your fingertips. The city has created two interactive maps that are easily accessible on the city website. The Commercial Real Estate Finder map shows real-time stock of commercial buildings, vacant land, and options available for redevelopment. It allows users to submit their property that is available for sale or lease. The city collects and presents this data through our online mapping tool. The Development Project Finder map shows proposed, approved, under construction, and completed development and redevelopment projects happening around the city. If you want to talk to someone about opportunities for development and redevelopment, call Community Development Assistant Kevin Trusensky at 952-895-4455.
It's a walkable community. We have a grocery store, restaurants, there's parks nearby, and there's the AIM Center. So for people who want to be where all the action is, and a great transit location, this has all the right things going for it. Mayor Couts, City Council, City staff, everybody's aligned with their vision, and when everybody can be transparent and on the same page, we can all work together to really see our visions come to life.
We chose Burnsville mainly because of the progressive growth that it has with the employment base here. So really good job growth, really good fundamentals in terms of proximity to Minneapolis-St. Paul.
We have great partnerships in Burnsville. A couple great examples, our Business Education Network. which connects our school district, our businesses, our city, and we do projects ranging from our Student Workplace Skills Certificate class, Teacher Externship, and Burnsville Family Fest. With over 2,000 businesses here in Burnsville, we have always been a hub for working, shopping, and entertainment. It's such a great location for businesses that are looking for a great workforce and a great location. At the intersection of 35E and 35W, you can get anywhere in the Twin Cities and beyond in just minutes. It's a great place to do business.
Our city team is excited to help create opportunities for development and redevelopment in Burnsville. We are continuing to improve our service to the businesses and residents of the community by updating the city code. We are looking at creating greater flexibility in some areas and making it easier to understand by using plain language. We want to make sure we create an environment where you feel like you belong here.
Thank you for taking the time to see what we're doing in Burnsville. As you can tell by the video, that we are living our vision, that we are a vibrant city, boldly leading and welcoming to all. A lot has happened since we made the video. As you can see in Burnsville, we are very inclusive in the way that we do things. So for our community to be vibrant, it needs all of us to tell our story. So we need property owners to be a part of that story and they can speak to it. We need developers to talk to that story as well, and our staff. So what happened between the time we made the video and today? Well, we had the Sterling Group in front of us, because one of the goals of our economic development strategies is to work and redevelop our County Road 42 corridor and create sustainability. So the Sterling Group owns the property on the corner of 42 and 5. And they're going to redevelop that site that has the Cub store. They're going to raise that building, reposition it, and create a mixed-use development. We're excited to work with them to make that vision become a reality, because it fits the vision that we have for the County Road 42 corridor. Also, Mayor McGuire, we have one of those mystery supermarkets that's coming to Burnsville as well, and it's going to be located on County Road 42 in the Cobblestone Shopping Center. Let me tell you, you've seen our story, but I want you to meet Beth Weber. Stand, Beth. So for all of you who are looking to do business in Burnsville, Jenny told you about Kevin in our office, but Beth is our economic development specialist. And she can work with you and give you the information you have. And of course, you have our website also. We're excited to work with all of you because you belong in Burnsville.
And next up, we have Bill Drosky from Rosemont. Come on up, Bill.
But I would like to say, Tim, thank you. 8 years is a long time. I remember when I first came to these, it was right after the housing collapse, and there wasn't much going on in Dakota County compared to what you're seeing here in the last 3-4 years. So thank you for all your efforts. And I'm always honored to be on any event with my fellow mayors. I can tell you they're all dedicated public servants, so thank you. We want you to connect with us for a future. Rosemont's a great place to live, work, and play. In fact, just yesterday we were notified. Money Magazine came out with the 50 best places to locate in the United States. For populations 25 to 500,000, and we were notified that we were number 32 out of 1,300 communities throughout the United States. Just to give you a little background on that, when our Senator Clausen mentioned on the West Metro, Chanhassen was named #1 in the whole country, best place in the United States, and Woodbury was named 29th, and there is a limit. You can not have more than 1 city in a county or 3 in a state. So there's many states that did not have any communities. But we're honored. You can see cost of living, economic opportunity. These are some key elements they look at when they rate communities throughout the United States. They put added weight this year on the cost of living, economic opportunities, and the affordability of housing, as we're often talking about the housing issue. But again, can't say how proud I am. We did receive this award back in 2015 when we were only about 16,000. But I can tell you, out of all these items, the school component is a strong element that helped us reach this. So looking at our growth, we all just received our census numbers. Last year were 25,650. In those numbers, we have 7,257 children 18 and under. So we, especially when you look at housing demographics, like Mayor McGuire mentioned, we have a lot of single-family homes and a lot of youth in our community. One other data element, diversity, we are changing. Back in 2010, it was an 85-15 white to people of color. It's now 79%, 21% when you look at the change. So we're seeing quite a bit of change. Also, I'll mention it here later on. A week ago, we approved Amber Field's first UMOR project, and the Met Council will be working with us. Our future 2040 number will increase beyond that 38. It'll be at least in 40,000. Just for your information, at a county level, the Dakota County in the next 20 years will grow approximately 100,000, where 30,000 will be about 525,000 at 2040. So what is going on in Rosemount? Our housing units numbers are up. The Morrison, the downtown project, currently under construction, is 124 market rate units. It's studio, 1, 2, and a few 3-bedroom units. Models are being leased now, and it'll be open beginning of October. Residents will begin moving in there. UMOR Fields that I just mentioned, Amber Fields, this will be a 1,900 unit project in various housing styles, quite creative, innovative. We just approved that a week ago Monday. This 430 acres. In fact, I talked about this about 4 years ago. We had another developer that had foreign investment and financial investment fell apart overseas. So the Maplewood group moved in here. They're out of the Twin Cities. They built a lot of housing, Oakdale, Woodbury, some in Colorado, and also in Florida. We're excited about their concept plan. Along 42, you'll see some apartments, higher density type housing. As you get to the back side of the development, it'll be single family with a strong mixture of townhomes. But again, just backing up to the housing cost, especially you that are here on the residential side, that cost of housing is significant, and we are seeing more mixed use, multi-family type development to get those price points down. The significant feature on this whole schematic is that large green area through the middle of it. It'll be connected with trails, similar park amenities, pocket parks, etc., but that central connectivity, storm catch basins, integrating everything into one large parcel will be a strong draw to this. And up on the northeast corner, the red part, that'll be a commercial retail type corner, and we look to that. All three corners on that corner where DCTC is, there's a stoplight will go in there this fall yet, and that retail will soon develop on that corner. When you look at all our development, last year we exceeded 100,389 housing units. So far this year we're on track to exceed all of 2020 stats. We have 73 million in new valuation year to date, 219 new housing units, and more than 1,000 permits compared to 2020. We also have several multifamily, I just mentioned, in the works, various apartments and luxury townhomes, but planning process generally takes a year or more before you really have something to see. Regarding business is up in Rosemount. We opened the Clover in March of this year, repositioned a restaurant that was closed over a year. The Lorenz Clinic Family Mental Health Treatment Facility opened early this spring, and just recently they were a finalist in the Minnesota Real Estate Journal for Architecture. And we'll be announcing within the next 2 months a premier rec center with a unique public-private partnership. It will be located on that 42 Akron Avenue corner that I mentioned. There will be a stoplight on the east side just by the college. Also, we just approved, and it's yet announced as far as what the project site is, but Project Osprey is a 420,000 square foot building that is going in our business park on the south side of 42 on the east side of Highway 3. It's a large distribution center, and it should be announced here. They're supposed to close this week, next week, soon. Recent approvals at the Planning Commission. The Omni Orchards, this will be on our council agenda next week. It's a tap room and winery. They're expanding. They have a site in the northwest part of the metro, and we're excited for that to be coming on Biscayne Avenue. Tap Society is a tap house restaurant. It'll also be on our agenda next week. It'll be part of the Morrison redevelopment downtown, where the old Medicar site, that building will be torn down in the next couple weeks, and we'll have a new restaurant there in the front of it. And just yesterday, North 20 Brewery just picked up their building permit, and near Egan, out in the rural section of Rosemount, we'll have a new brewery by a private family, first venture. Also, Summit Dental just approved a building, and they'll be expanding in Rosemount. I'll also say during the last year, all of us as cities and you as businesses dealt with the pandemic as the changes came about often and how to adjust to them. I got to commend our staff, especially Eric Van Oss and Lee, for the work they did working with our businesses downtown and our community and engaging on the shopping local and creating that sport. I'll also say one last thing. We just approved a week ago at the Port Authority that we're doing grants for the old downtown Rosemount, any businesses that are doing facade updates. New opportunities in Rosemount. We have a lot compared to 3-4 years ago of large national site selectors and prospects working on large chunks of land in Rosemount. Just east of the college, there's 260 acres on Umore Park land. And also just east of that, Opus has another 160-acre site, and we just have a strong interest from various type groups. It's distribution centers and data centers primarily, as far as what hopefully next year by this time I can announce some new business projects. We also have a project that's in place. It's probably about the last year and a half. The Canal Development Project, the old Ridge Valley Golf Course. It's 160 acres, and we're working through the AUAR process, and that has just been completed this past year. It'll be a large distribution center of multiple buildings on that 160-acre site. Again, it's just east of Highway 52 on the north side of 42. Quality of life is high in Rosemount, and like Mayor McGuire and other mayors have mentioned here, and Money Magazine, one of the elements, hey, the livability in your communities with the growth, how well our citizens connected are very important. So our Leprechaun Days, Food Truck Festival, Haunted Trail, our Arts Center, all those elements are so critical for people engaged in our communities. We also have been making significant investments in parks and trails. We opened a new skate park last year, and it's called one of the best in Minnesota as far as usage at its opening. I was by there last night, and it was just shocking the number of kids that are in this skate park. In fact, last year, one day I was going golfing 5:45, bypassing it, and there were 2 kids there, and I don't know if they stayed there all night, but to be there that early in the morning is very unusual. We also made significant investment at our Flint Hills soccer complex. We opened the fields, or put them into use early last year. It's 7 fields. We added lighting to it and a playground, and we'll also be building with the county joint building with restrooms, and this is part of the whole Dakota County Met Council regional trail system. I'll say all the developments we're working on, especially the Umore Amber Fields, today's world and post-pandemic, it's all about open space trails and connectivity, and we're adamantly and have been working on that for 15 years, and we're really putting strong focus as we move forward. I'll also mention one element last year that we're extremely fortunate for. Charter Communications and grant with the state in Dakota County invested $1.5 million putting in fiber to 370 homes on our northern border. Most of these were rural large lots, but we were fortunate just to have that in the works, and it was the first fiber to the home Charter had invested in the state of Minnesota. Going forward, I can tell you technology and how we're connected electronically is important also to you as business and our community. Community connectiveness is strong in Rosemount. Just prior to the pandemic, we opened a added element to our Family Resource Center that was over $1 million investment. All the parades, Kindness Rocks, and lots of shopping local. This is a picture of a Santa tour last year. But again, how do you connect going forward with technology, with your residents as you grow and expand with new families? Looking to the future, we intend, oh, and I should mention the great events earlier, the Food Truck Festival. This weekend, Saturday, 4 to 9, we'll have a food truck festival with bands. You're welcome to come. I think it's 25 or 30 food trucks, and it's just a large, exciting fall event. Moving forward, before I get yanked, I'll wrap up. This is our focus for the future: growing Rosemount, connecting, engaging our community, enhancing the quality of life, and developing a high-performing organization. We've added over the last year with retirements and new staff, and we're positioning ourselves for the future, and there's nothing we'd enjoy more to see you building or expanding your business in our city. Thank you.
Next up, we got Clint from Apple Valley.
Welcome everybody. It's great to see so many familiar faces. For those I don't know, I'm Clint Hoopaw, new mayor in Apple Valley as of this year, after serving 10 years on city council. It's been fun to be here. I want to share a few of what we've done the last couple of years. It's certainly been, as many have mentioned, good to be back in person and be able to talk about some of these things again. 2019, we're a little out of Farmington's league. We marked our 50th anniversary. They're 150 years old, so we have a little ways to go to catch up. 2020 saw us, like everybody, delivering services to get our businesses and our residents through the pandemic. You can't stop here and not compliment our staff on the work they did, keeping our residents safe, keeping our staff safe. We take a lot for granted in this, but every day when I got up, despite what was going on in the pandemic, I turned the tap on, water came out, right? Those folks who needed permits got their permits. If you called 911, those emergency services showed up. That's no small feat in the middle of a pandemic when you have to rearrange those schedules. Certain priorities that stay for us and what we've been working on, upgrading our city facilities to maintain the quality of service we can deliver. As you get to be 50 years old, so does all of your stuff, right? And you grow a population and that needs updated. Our stable and low taxes, we made a decision about the time I got on council to eliminate special assessments for road reconstruction. When we talk about affordability, we see what that does in other communities and other states. That's a huge one for us. And then our census growth, estimated to be 56,374 residents, about a 15% growth from last census. So a lot to be proud of there. What we'll see is some recent retail development that completed in 2020. One being the new Menard store that opened in October at the corner of County Road 42 and Johnny Cake Ridge Road. This new location is 260,000 square feet, adding about 100,000 square feet, keeping their jobs in their store in Apple Valley. Novello with 175 apartments in 2 buildings next to Kelly Park, including a rooftop patio, exercise room, community space, and some shared workspace and a theater. Apple Valley Transit Station saw a much needed expansion. Clearly the transit has taken a hit in the pandemic as we haven't had many people riding. This project was underway well before the pandemic. This site has been full since day one. We know it will be back to being used as soon as we have people back on the bus and regular employment schedules. I was talking to Wendy this morning, and aren't we all looking forward to the days when we're not talking about how the pandemic is impacting all of these operations and trying to make those decisions. This is the busiest transit station in Dakota County and one of the most full ones throughout the system. Minnesota Zoo, I was just out there this morning. Planning is underway for the Treetop Trail. Go ahead and say it 3 times fast. Say it with me. Construction, this is the site of the old monorail that will turn this into the longest walking loop anywhere. Plan to start in 2022 with a spring of 23 opening. I was just in San Diego a week ago, and they've got a lot of elevated spaces there at their zoo, and you really get kind of a cool overview of what's going on. This will be a really nice addition to the zoo. They made some recent improvements to their Wells Fargo farm and the Gateway area there. Part of the zoo's plan is appealing to families and older children as well, to keep that relevant in the future. If you have driven by Cedar and 42 at all lately, you will note the new Panera Bread construction at the site of the former Baker's Square. Like many, we are seeing old sites redevelop, new uses come where old sites were. This will be located right in front of Cedar Avenue and Target. Panera would love you all to know they are still open in their old location despite the attempted early drive-through creation a couple weeks ago. Pennock Center, right in this same neighborhood, this time on the other side of County Road 42 in Cedar. At Pennock Avenue is a new Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins, along with a couple other yet-to-be-named retail tenants. For many in this room, you'll recognize that as the site of the old Edina Realty building when they were on that corner with sort of the two-level building there. Because we don't have quite enough banks in Apple Valley, we have one more coming. Chase Bank is building in the parking lot. The interesting trend we see in many of these, and others have talked about it as well, is the reuse of some of these overparked sites into a little more vibrant retail. This will be out near the edge of Cedar. Construction is underway. I think for many of us, it's been a tough year as we look at restaurant business. It's good to see some of the former sites refill again, and some of them very quickly. Tavern Grill, opening in the former Vivo location. Misfits Collective, Cowboy Jacks in the former Old Chicago location. And then coming in 2022, what many folks will know is the former Ruby Tuesdays location that's been vacant for some time. It will be the Farmer and Fishmonger coming end of this year or early next year. Pulte is working on a Shores Townhome project, phase 2, 157th and Johnny Cake, 45 units in progress there. Orchard Path Senior Living. This talks a little about our aging communities and giving people opportunity to stay in the Apple Valley community as they age and look for more services. So adding the additional wing onto that building, 60 additional units in the Cobblestone neighborhood. Rise Roar by Roars, senior living with 25% affordability, 172 unit townhome and apartment development. We're all happy it includes a pickleball court. We'll take a little pressure off the pickleball courts in the area. That development is well underway and very visible, just off 153rd and Galaxy. Orchard Place is a guided mixed-use business campus. This is the active gravel mining operation currently south of County Road 42. Build-outs are going to occur as the mining works its way out in there. If you look at the aerial view, what you see is the kind of that master plan of the area, locations for medical, healthcare businesses, financial services, hotels, restaurants, and the like. Initial demand in here, develop a HJ development, approved a number of new businesses just recently. Some are currently under construction. Texas Roadhouse, Chipotle, Mr. Car Wash, Crisp and Green, Newt's Burgers and Beer, and McCoy's Copper Pint. We're waiting for the confusion of Crooked Pint and Copper Pint on those two corners. That should be fun as you try to give your friends directions on where you're going to meet on Friday night. Skinnell and Office Warehouse. This is one of those projects that I think talks to the city partnering with a developer to take a site that's got some struggle and impact to it and turn it into something that will be a nice office warehouse type of location. This was the old, for those who remember the Hanson concrete site and the stacked up tile, this was their dumping ground for concrete for many years. And so as we went to build out to 147th through there, we found the concrete in there. If you drive by that north of Menard's site right now, you will see a large pile of reclaimed concrete. So with the city's help and the state's, we helped them secure $1 million in site prep grant to reclaim that site and be able to do something with it. The cool thing is all that material that's come out has been crushed and will be reused on the site. So that's not going to be landfilled, that kind of thing. That will all be recycled. So fun to see that site finally go. Another challenging site for us and for all of us who are in this. We know we hate to lose our green spaces and our golf courses. This was the par 3 course up off 140th and Garden View. That use was no longer viable in its current state. We knew when we did comp plan that use would change. Of course, you also want that to fit in well with the existing neighborhood and try to be a nice balance in there. So that zoning on that is now a low density flex, something that worked for both the developer, the city, and the neighborhood. So there'll be a mix of lower density townhome and single family in there. There's also an awful lot of stormwater that is dealt with on that site and wetlands too. Eagle Point, another residential development. Much as Mayor McGuire mentioned, right, you don't get as many of those single family as the community ages, but it's fun to see some of these small sites turn into something that will be well used. 27 villa style single family townhomes, 140th and Garden View, and final approvals are pending on that one. Applewood Point, Project by United Properties, 98 units of senior and cooperative housing. Pilot Knob and McAndrews, so right on the southwest kind of corner of Valleywood Golf Course, out in that direction. And construction is planned for early 2022. Our former Menards location, recently being repurposed to Eagle Brook Church. They will do significant work to reposition that campus, again with the 2022 renovation planned. The long vacant site, which on Galaxy, which many of us know where Enterprise Car is, directly south of there, directly north of Kelly Park. Fairly new project for a market and restaurant facility there with some outdoor dining adjacent to the parks and the multifamily in that area. It'll be a really nice addition to that neighborhood as well. Something for the far east side of town to be very excited about is the Lunds and Byerly's planned in Orchard Place and the commercial location, 2022 construction likely on that one. So lots going on here. I would encourage those who have questions, who want to learn more about Apple Valley, reach out to us. There are several people here in the audience I should probably not forget to introduce as we do this. We have our Community Development Director, Bruce Nordquist, somewhere back there. Alex Sharp, our planner, is somewhere in the room. Not in Jamaica quite yet. Glad to see you here today, Alex. And then Tom Lowell, our city administrator. So thank you all, and great to see you all in person.
We'll have Doug Anderson from Lakeville give us the Lakeville update, and the numbers down there are just incredible. They keep growing that city, and it's really good that you can make it up today, Doug.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Doug Anderson. I have the privilege to serve as the Lakeville Mayor. This is my, well, I guess it's fourth time because we missed last year. Fourth time here. In the past times, I've always been first, so I'm not sure what the deal is, Tim, that all of a sudden I've become last. But the last will become first. So anyway, a lot of folks have already started to have mentioned the city of Lakeville. And so what I'm going to do today is just talk a little bit about who Lakeville is, and then we'll talk about what's going on. And obviously there's a lot that's been going on. Before I do that, I do want to introduce David Olson, who's in the back. David, stand up and wave or do something. There we go. David runs our economic development team. Katie Bachmeyer is his crack associate, and we have a very strong team, and they put this presentation together for me, and I'm always grateful for their work in our city. So I'm going to start off with a little interactive quiz. Excuse me. So how many square miles is the city of Lakeville? 38. Who said 38? You got it. That is exactly correct. Braz actually said 38 as well, so we had two winners in the room. How many food establishments do you think we have in the city of Lakeville? Restaurants?
60-some.
Okay, who's next? Okay, we have over 80. I think I actually counted them up last week. It was over 90. One of the most frequent comments I get from folks is that we don't have enough restaurants in the city of Lakeville, and they all have to drive to the other cities that are here. And the fact is that that's no longer true. We have a vibrant restaurant community, and we're adding new restaurants all the time. In fact, there's a new one that just was announced last week coming into downtown Lakeville. It's a full-service, full menu, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 7 days a week in downtown Lakeville. And we're very excited to have that group come into town. And I believe they're also going to serve adult refreshments, during the time that they're open. So lastly, quick question. We all know that we are now, the city of Lakeville is now larger than Egan. But how big are we? How many think we're over 70,000? in population. Okay, a number of you do. The census actually said that we were at 69,490 was our 2020 census. That places us as the 11th largest city in the state of Minnesota. So not only are we the largest city now in Dakota County, but the 11th largest in the state. Our staff team did some quick math based on new housing starts and determined that we believe that we have already, as we've turned the corner into 2021 from the census, we've stepped ahead of the next two cities. So we are now the 9th largest city in the state of Minnesota. You can see the other information. There are 1,378 businesses. And from a cultural background standpoint, just as Egan did, we pretty much doubled in our BIPOC population up to 21.2%. This is the population numbers. The staff just put this together to take a quick glimpse at where everybody else sits. So in terms of what's been going on, total building permit valuation 2020, $442 million. That includes everything. It includes the Amazon development and a number of other things, and we'll go through the details here shortly. This year to date, we're at $235 million roughly. Things continue to move, and we have to remember, and other mayors have already said this is in the middle of a pandemic. And it was simply amazing to us that the development continued to go as fast as it did as we moved through last year. So top commercial and industrial permits, I mentioned Amazon, 45 million. That is one huge building, about 750,000 square feet. It's a major, what's the terminology, David? A major item fulfillment center?
XL fulfillment center.
Thank you very much. And so it's for large items like appliances and mattresses and stuff like that. Launch Properties, Sweet Harvest Foods, FedEx Freight pretty much doubled their facility. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, another new restaurant in town. Lakeville business employment doesn't show up very well, but you can see the number has continued to grow as we entered into 2021. I believe the actual count is like 17,889 are employed in our city. This is just some of the business developments over the past year from Kingsley Place, which is senior housing. The Outdoor Great Room Company is a new manufacturing company coming to town. And there are many others that are on that list. Of course, it included Amazon. And when you look across the city, our 38 square miles, building permits issued and final plats, you can't see the details of this, it's too small, but you can just get a glimpse of how our development has really been spread across the city from a business standpoint, which is the yellow, and then the kind of magenta color is residential development, which you can see is kind of moved to the east side of town, where most of our vacant land is. And of course, we always enjoy ribbon cutting events from Hot Works, which is a new fitness center where you exercise in infrared saunas, to Red Savoy Pizza, which we were excited to see. As far as on the residential side, 2020 was a significant year for us. Continued significant growth. 2021, we're continuing to grow in all areas. And again, the red, this is a similar, just a component of the prior slide that shows in the red where the residential developments have been this past year. Institutional investments, we've got a lot going on in the community because of our growth in terms of our school districts, and almost every school, quite every school, but almost every school has been added on to accommodate the growth in students. We are very excited. The pool picture is there. We're very excited. We have a long-term family in our community that that made a significant donation to build a pool at Century Middle School, which is going to be, I'm not a swimmer, but it's going to be a premier facility for swim meets and diving meets. And we're very, very excited about that. It'll be more of a regional type facility as we move into the future, and that is under development right now. I should have skipped back to this slide when I was talking about residential development. One of the things that we look at in terms of affordability, and I'll tag on to what Mayor McGuire said, that really one of our main areas that we can significantly grow opportunities for people to achieve the dream of owning their own home is in existing housing stock. And when you look at the assessed value of our homes in the city of Lakeville, 25% is under $300,000. So as we look at our older homes and our smaller housing stock, it's really a place for us to insure and invest for people to step in and gain that opportunity of home ownership that they seek. We have municipal liquor stores in the city of Lakeville, and one of the areas that we've taken a look at to expand as our community has expanded is in our liquor operations. So we are in the process of developing our 4th liquor store. This is down on County Road 70 and I-35 near the Imagine Theater and Walmart, and is going to be our premier store and include a tasting facility for events and other kinds of activities and special events. One of the unique things about the city of Lakeville is we have our own airport. I guess it's not our own, but it's run by the Metropolitan Airports Commission, but it is a feeder airport. It's a facility that has been under planning for expansion for a number of years. Over the past few years, we have fully annexed the facility from Eureka Township so that it all has available infrastructure for development, and that development has already started with the addition of new hangars, there is a new operator of the in-flight facility at the airport that's actually looking at potentially adding a restaurant at the airport for folks to fly in and enjoy the experience. For 2021, we've got a number of projects that are underway. We're excited about the County Road 70 expansion. This is a way overdue project in terms of expanding County Road 70 to 4 lanes, and certainly that road feeds our industrial park and is also an east-west connector that heads over to Farmington as they look at expansion over there. We've got a number of projects. I've already mentioned several of these. Also would add the apartment projects. There's a lot going on in our city. We also, as well as the city of Burnsville, have an interactive development map. I didn't bring a video of how to use that, but we're showing you a picture. You can go out and take a look at development projects that are either recently completed all the way back to proposed, as well as segregating it between residential and institutional. This is a phenomenal tool. I know a number of cities have it. But please take advantage of that as you work with your clients and people are looking at the opportunity to be in the city of Lakeville. Just some data so you have it. When you get this presentation, you'll have this at your fingertips as you work with people that are looking for opportunities to invest. We have 65 park properties, 46 playgrounds, couple pollinator gardens, 3 fishing piers. We're very proud of our lakes, and obviously that's why we're called the City of Lakeville. Over 1,600 acres of park land and 420 acres of maintained turf in those parks. And from a public works standpoint, we have 21,313 water meters. I know that that's an important statistic for you, but you know, it is incredible to think about what our city staffs work with day in and day out and the infrastructure that we provide. I think all of us mayors would probably say that public safety is the #1 responsibility of our cities, but then you go right to this, and it's amazing, and I think in most of our cities, we find our infrastructure to be pretty ubiquitous to people that live and work in our communities, which is great. We don't have many problems. We provide the services we need, and we try to stay up to date in terms of ensuring that we have the capacity. Maybe the one area that we've been challenged this last year has been broadband. I'm excited for Rosemont that they worked with Charter and were able to get that grant. But we all probably have, I know in the city of Lakeville, we have a few areas in the city that we are continually challenged with providing the bandwidth necessary, just like they need here, to be able to run presentations, work at home, and do school at home, and whatever else we're doing at home. So that's an area that we need to continue to work on. And lastly, just as the other cities, COVID was a challenge for all of us, and I'm very proud of our city council and our city staff in terms of how we responded and utilized the CARES money, and now we're moving into the ARP money in terms of how we're investing in our communities and supporting our local businesses. And we did a local, we provided some funds to our local chamber in Lakeville to do an advertising campaign in terms of shop local and support local, do takeout local for our restaurants, and I think it was very successful. And in the midst of, as we total all that up in terms of the funds we provided, it was over $1 million that we provided to our local business community. And I'm grateful for our, as I said, for our city council and our staff for making this all happen and work through things and be creative. Grateful for the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for coming all, but let's give all the mayors one last round of applause. Taking time out of their schedule.